once we have the fascia board in, we still need to put the soffit. So if we take a look at one of the sections and zoom up there, you can see that there's our fascia board, and we have to put a board or some lumber across here in order to enclose the roof area. Now, on your model, you have a single wall that it's the same material all the way up. But on my model, I've changed it to where I would actually like it to be built, or how I would like it to be built. So I put in my reference plane. I know that that board's going to go to this reference line here. And I put in this reference plane at the rigid insulation location. Maybe the roof is, you know what, the roof is too low. And that's one of the problems here, but it's an easy fix. This is where the roof should actually be. So if I grab the roof, this fascia board is attached to the roof, like it's locked into there. So it should move. So I'm going to move it from here up to here. And sure enough, my fascia board did in fact move with the roof. So that I'd placed it in the wrong spot. So this is the location where I want my soffit to be. And I need, when we put it in, we'll put it in like we put in a floor. We have to provide the boundary of it. And the easiest way to know what the boundary is to actually put the reference planes in. So what I did was I went around the house and I put the reference planes on the inside or the house side of the fascia. And that section that I just cut right here shows the distance that the fascia is going to cover horizontally. So if we measure that distance from here to here, in my case, it's 1 foot 9 1/4. Copy it, and then I'll go to modify and say offset, and I will set that same Control V, and I will offset all of my inner lines that I have drawn so that offset 1 foot 9 1/4. So trying to do the offset didn't work. Trying to offset this in my plan view. I've isolated the category, so now all I can see is the reference planes. And I want to be able to see this reference plane that I know is there from section B. And the reason I can't see it is my view range, I'm cutting through the house right here. So it's the reference plane isn't low enough, so I'll bring it down a little bit lower, and then let's go back to the second floor. And now I can see it because the reference plane is cutting through there. So the offset didn't work, but I can still draw reference planes and use the offset dimension right here, Control V, and then simply draw around the house. I want the second line to be on the outside because my first line was the inside. And I'll just draw all the way around here. Plane. Oops, I have to set the offset. I didn't do that. That's on the wrong side, so I'll just delete it. And I'll go back and put my reference plane in again. And this time I won't forget to put the offset. And I just know that as I snap to this guy, I hit the space bar because I want it to go in the correct direction, or rather be on the correct side. What I'm attempting to do right now is create the border in reference planes, and then I'll have to go back in and actually draw in my soffit based on these reference planes. So I'll have a knowledge of where my soffit boundaries are. Let's see, here we go, still coming around. Oops. Reference plane, Control V. I think this will be my last one. Okay, so now I know what my borders will be, and I'll go back in real quick. Maybe I'll use the extend trim, which I call fillet, and see if it will let me do that. And again, the reference planes are not cooperating with me, so I'll just grab this little bubble and stretch it across. And I'll grab this little bubble and stretch it down. And same thing on this side. What I want to do is I need to know where my intersections are. I think. Maybe I don't. Maybe I can draw it a different way. Let's pull this one up so I don't get confused. Drag this one over. I might be able to just pick lines, but then I would have to go in and clean those lines up. So I'm just trying to make sure that I have intersections here. Because that's going to be the boundary of my soffit. And that'll start to make a little bit more sense when I actually start to do it. Really need to clean it up this well. These are reference planes. Remember, a reference plane doesn't print because in our print settings, we just say don't print reference planes. Or if you wanted to see the reference planes, then you would have to change the setting in your setup to just say, yeah, sure, print the reference planes. And then it would. But these are really what they're called, the reference planes. They're for our benefit to see boundaries and things like that that we want to put in. But we don't need to show that on our construction documents, on our sheets. So getting close to the end here of lining everything up. Looks good. Okay, I'll save it. And I'm going to now put in my overhang, my soffit. So we go back to the architecture tab, and we go over to the roof tab, and this time we're putting in the soffit, and we need to create the boundary lines. So I'll just start right here. I'm not offsetting anything. I want to go and just trace around all of the outside, and you see the magenta lines. That's telling us that we're creating a boundary. We'll have to pick a material for that, but one thing at a time. Just go all the way around. This is the outside face, and you can see how those intersections are really helping me now to draw the boundaries and snap right to those intersections. And the second thing I'll do after I finish my exterior perimeter is I'm going to go back in and draw the interior perimeter. I don't know what the height of this is, so I'm not going to worry about it, setting that height constraint right now. But when I look at one of the sections, that will show me exactly where the soffit should be elevation-wise. Okay, so a few more to go, and we'll have created our boundary. This is going to be oh, it's a generic material right now. Let's see. Can I edit that type? Duplicate it. I'm just going to call it 1/2 inch plywood. So therefore, what do we got here? Let's see if that 1/2 is an issue in the word. Nope, okay. And we're going to change that to 1/2 inch thickness. And then we'll change the material to plywood sheathing. You can have many different materials. The plywood is a rather traditional yet inexpensive way to do it. When I built my house, my soffits are made out of 1x4 tongue and groove redwood, so it looks much nicer. But of course, it's much more labor intensive, and the material is much more expensive too. But it's a very, very nice look. So we're looking for plywood. We'll come over here to plywood sheathing. Okay, so we've set what kind of material we want it to be. And we're going to say okay to that. It's the plywood. We have the border set, so I should be able to accept that now. And we'll go back. Oops, we're going to go over here and reset our temporary hide. And let's just go back and take a look at this guy right here, this view, and see where did I put that soffit. And see where I put it, it's way down here. So I need to raise it up. So let's see if I can align it and see what happens, if it'll let me do that. Yep, let me put it up there. Now, I can see that the soffit is in the right place, but the roof is not, because this edge should hang down at least 1/2 inch from the soffit. It creates a drip. So that means that I'm going to move my roof down 1/2 inch, 0.5 inches. And that's great. So this is my, if we look at this in realistic, you can maybe see it. No, that doesn't help any. Let's go back to the hidden line. And the fascia board hangs down a little bit below the soffit. So as the water drips down, water doesn't drip up. So the farthest that water can go is right here, and then it'll drip down off of the fascia. Or if you have gutters, most of the rain will go into the gutters, but sometimes there's rain on the outside of the gutters, which will come, and we want to have a drip for that too. So I was setting up to do a rendering to show the overhang, and you can see that there's a couple of errors here. First of all, I must have put the soffit on the wrong side here, and there is no soffit here. So we'll go back and we're going to, let's say, edit the boundary. And let's edit that back at the second floor. And it does not look like I've put this in the wrong spot. So that's all right. But this will not be there. That's a gable end, so we don't have a soffit there. So I'll have to change that a little bit, which is fine. I'll just pull that in here and then clean it up. But now this confuses me, because when I look at my 3D view, I could see the roof there. If I say okay to that, oh, the reason is that this roof hangs out farther than the standard offset. That's the problem. So we'll edit that boundary again and go back to the second floor. And I know that this line just comes straight across. So I'll clean that up with this. And then I will delete these magenta lines. And I think we're good. It's an enclosed boundary, but it doesn't go all the way around the house. In other words, this is still an enclosed boundary all the way around. It just doesn't happen to continue across here. So if I say okay to that, it's telling me that there's a problem, and it's showing me where the problem is, which is right here. I took this line out, and I shouldn't have, because I need that to be in there. So I'm going to put it back in to there, and then say okay. So when we look at the model in 3D, you can see now how the overhang works. It's the soffit material all the way around the house that's enclosing that, and it's in the, looks like it's in the right location. Everything looks good to me. And so now we can see in the rendering what we did by putting in the soffit. So the soffit comes across here and over to here and underneath, and it encloses the roof. Generally, that soffit will have some sort of air screen on it, which allows more air to get inside of the roof space. We also would put vents, ridge vents across the top here, or some sort of ridge vents, or some sort of vents that allow the air to escape. And what that does is, if you don't ventilate your attic space, the moisture builds up, and over time it will deteriorate the structural members in your house. So you definitely want to have ventilation there, but we don't have to show that for this class. But anyway, this is what I wanted to illustrate, is now little by little, we're adding all the small little bits. Maybe next tutorial we'll show how to raise this roof up. But for now, I think we're in pretty good shape as far as the tutorial anyway, showing you how to put your soffit material and create the border for it.